When I
I can be brown, I can be blue, I can be violet sky. I can.
The fuck is that?
I don't know what that
TikTok
is.
trend. It's a TikTok trend.
Just shut the fuck up with your TikToks, you piece of shit.
Ryan Reynolds on TikTok now.
Yeah, and I would fucking suck his dick in a heartbeat, but that doesn't mean I like TikTok.
All right. So when I had the idea to do Jury of Drunken Opinion, I wanted to do a podcast where I looked at historical figures that got a bad rap and re-examined them. Turns out there's just not that many because, unfortunately, infamy is the best way to be remembered by history. There are plenty of great podcasts that talk about shitty people in history. There's Behind the Bastards. There's Lions Led by Donkeys. There's many others. Unfortunately, while these are great podcasts, there's more politics to them than they are /Obama subreddit. So the new goal of this,
I totally know what that is. I don't go on Reddit.
I don't either. Is that, or I said Fox News.
Pretty political.
Yeah. We're trying to avoid that.
You could also say CNN.
Well, yeah,
take any news.
Insert news media website here. So the new goal, the new goal of this side shit show is to give you information without giving you a vomit-inducing amount of personal politics, while having a completely inappropriate sense of humor and not being overly entertaining. That's the big key part. And if I
give us an example of an inappropriate humor,
Nick. Dick and balls.
Pretty inappropriate. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really fit in with anything.
Handful of beans,
but handful of beans. You got a handful of beans right there.
And bright side is, if I do start getting political, I have these two talent here to tell me to fuck off. So there we go. So welcome to the new Jury of Drunken Opinion. Rebranding. Woo! Why is a phone ringing in my house that's not mine?
Rebranding. This is it. This is Jury of Drunken Opinion. So O.J. Simpson.
Great guy.
Not bad guy. Yeah, I mean, not too bad.
Hitler. Solid dude. Good points.
Debatable. I see how he could be on the jury, I guess. Well, not on the jury, I guess.
I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence about Hitler.
I'm not.
Jeff Solid. He's an upstanding gentleman.
I am all on the neo-Nazi train, I guess. Oh man, can't wait to cut this out. It probably won't actually. Kind of funny. Disclaimer: I think Hitler's a horrible person. All neo-Nazis deserve to just be burnt at a stake. But
there was a man in my house. He is now dead.
It was amazing from the lack of gunshots I heard.
Well,
Nick sat on him.
That's rude.
Nick shot it through his stomach fat to silence it.
Nick used that gun that he keeps in his asshole.
Yeah. Oh god, that's a throwback.
Nick actually used a potato as the silencer. So,
all right. Well, now that we've gotten all of that fun rebranding bullshit out of the way,
I forgot. I can't wait for Nick to hear this when it's edited and releases. Never mind. You missed everything, and I'm not taking it out.
Funny things.
I am
fantastic. Oh, wonderful! I'm so happy that this serious rebranding is now this. Anyway,
it'll be the facts will be serious. That's the point of the facts. The rest of it is us.
You can tell how serious our rebrand is if you go on to our Patreon and subscribe to our live
tier.
Yeah, our $3 tier where you can watch this episode.
You can see how serious this rebrand. Yeah, how serious this rebrand. We all bought glasses.
We did. So
I got cataracts specifically for this.
I'm pretty sure Morgan's listening to funeral music.
It's wild.
Do you mean Amazing Grace? What is funeral
Taps?
music? Yeah, like what is outside of those two? What is funeral music?
I don't know. Is it like it's sad?
Is it a dirge? Is she pretending she's in Louisiana?
We're never going to get to this episode.
We're never getting to this episode. We're never getting here, which is good because I realized I didn't actually write a proper intro. So I just kind of go into it. So we're going to be doing that off the cuff.
Sucks to suck.
So weird news. She's watching a TV show that for the past 10 minutes has taken place during a funeral.
What's the show?
New one with Selena Gomez and Martin Freeman.
Don't care. All right. So
Does it involve any Japanese?
No,
Doesn't
but
matter.
It's Selena
Does
Gomez.
not matter. All right. As Jeff just so kindly alluded to, let's hit that intro. Hello, everyone. Welcome to what is now and will has always been Jury of Drunken Opinion, where we talk about people in history and essentially that. I give you details, you come to your own conclusions because fuck it.
What makes you the jury?
Yeah, essentially.
And what makes us the drunken?
Yep.
That is true. I've done.
And
2
you
shots.
could be the drunken jury if you also get drunk and be the jury.
True, but don't do that while driving, because then we'll be on an episode of our own podcast. Maybe.
Nope.
Wait,
I don't
we
think,
will?
I don't
If
think
they
the-
drink and drive, I don't think we'll be on an
Maybe
episode
we'll
of
do
our
an
own
episode
podcast.
of you.
You. Probably not.
Kill enough people. Who
Oh
knows?
yeah, yeah. If you kill a lot of people doing it, yeah, probably.
Probably. So
I would-
anyway,
Sadly,
today,
gladly do that.
today we're talking about Emperor Hirohito of Japan, the Japanese emperor during World War II, otherwise known as Showa.
I always forget that Japan had an emperor for so long.
Oh, they still do.
Yeah, I know. Like, I always forget that they're like
We'll
they
get
have
there.
one.
What? So to hit this off with, Adam, what have you learned about the Japanese Empire from watching Hamilton?
Yeah, we do need to get this.
Yeah,
figured
we
out
need to get
before
this
we go.
out of the way before I get caught off guard again.
You start telling me what you know about the Japanese Empire, and then I'll tell you if I learned that already in Hamilton.
All right.
We should probably do the preferred intro of I am Jeff, by the way.
No, it's true. Yeah.
I am Adam or Robert Downey Jr., whichever one you want to call me today.
Also, our Hamilton expert, aka knows everything about history that you've ever needed to know.
Yep. He knows so much more than I do.
Only from
Almost
Hamilton, though.
Only from Hamilton. I'm sure he'll be able to give a
For
better synopsis
anyone
of the
that this is
Meiji resolution than I will.
For anyone that this is their first time listening, and go back a few Jury of Drunken Opinions.
Go listen to
This is
the
only like the
Benedict-
third one.
Yeah, this is the only third one. Go back and listen to the Benedict Arnold one, and you'll get all the jokes. There was also
we
a good episode.
We make them in the
in the Rommel.
Erwin Rommel, yeah.
Also, that one's just hilarious because Adam doesn't know where Italy is.
Also, Adam, yeah, and that was a conversation I had with
No,
Adam.
no,
without
I
you
know
there.
where Italy is.
He didn't
He
know
didn't
where
know
Greece
Greece.
was.
Yeah.
Greece.
He didn't know. No, he didn't know Greece was a country. He thought it was a city. In
I
Italy.
thought it was a city.
Hence Athens and Sparta.
Yeah. So that
Maybe
was
Maybe it's a Providence.
well, they don't have those.
They actually have city states, but
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, now that we're getting into it,
I
Jeff,
don't
what do
think
you?
Nick ever actually said his name. But
Oh,
I'm drinking.
I'm Nick. Yeah.
No,
whatever.
cut that out, Jeff. Cut that out.
It's fine. I'm drinking in this glass Fireball, only Fireball.
I am drinking.
Oh, hold on, I'm also drinking Busch.
I'm drinking the Copper Can Moscow Mule. I got 2 of them left over from Grace.
How are they? Sounds awful.
Not great.
Yep, sounds bad.
They were also warm, so
Oh God,
It sounds even worse.
I'm just doing shots of Tin Cup's 10-year. It's pretty good, and also I'm chasing it with Dr Pepper.
what is Tin Cup? What is Tin Cup? Is that
Cup's a
what it
whiskey. It's a whiskey
you-
bourbon. It's
Did
both.
you add it? Did you add it to the?
I did add it to the
So-
infinity
Hell
bottle.
yeah.
So, my infinity bottle's pretty fucking full. Oh, you can't see it. There's too much shit in the way. My infinity bottle is almost halfway full.
Oh, nice.
I drink a lot of really shitty bourbons and whiskeys.
Jeff, what do you know about Emperor Hirohito?
The actual himself, nothing. The Japanese Empire in World War II, a little bit.
Alright.
The Pacific Front isn't anything I really know a lot about, other
Mhm.
than the Battle of Midway. But outside of that, the Battle of Midway and the wonderful 2 times that we set
Drop the
Japanese,
sun on them.
yeah, the 2 times we set Japanese to the world record of highest temperatures known on Earth.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Adam, do you know anything? Do you even know who Emperor Hirohito was before I said his name and told you who he was?
Yeah, from Hamilton.
Perfect.
So let me tell you
Fantastic.
his role in Hamilton.
Perfect. All right.
From this, let me tell you about this emperor from World War II in this pre-Civil War era.
Really, the only thing I know is that like kamikaze pilots they weren't really expecting to die all the time. They were expecting to hit ejecto seats a lot, and then it never worked.
I mean, their submarines were 100% designed for them to die in.
Yeah, so there were their torpedoes.
torpedoes, yeah.
They had torpedoes that were single man torpedoes where like you could control it and your whole thing was to die. But if you didn't hit your target, you just died underwater from cabin pressure or drowning.
Or it
Pretty
went
neat. That didn't happen often though. You didn't get that luxury from what it sounds like from what I've heard.
So yeah. That is Japan. I'm glad we got that little cliff note. So now we get to have a fun time.
Do we get to drop nukes on Japan now?
No.
No, I think that's actually pretty frowned upon. But maybe China soon.
All right, calm down, MacArthur. We'll get there.
It's North Korea.
Well, again, calm down, MacArthur. Okay, we got 2 MacArthurs in the fucking chat right now.
We've been okay with North Korea for a little bit now. West Taiwan's really pushing their fucking boundaries, though. For anyone that doesn't know, West Taiwan is China.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, remember when I did this rebrand and I said we weren't going to get political?
We're not political. Everyone knows China fucking sucks.
Now we get to have a fun time. Now we have about 2,600 years of history to fit into less than 60 minutes. So buckle in, kids.
Wait. The podcast is like 60 minutes. We're gonna fit all the pre-Japan history before this time.
Emperor Showa, or Hirohito, as he is known in the West, was born on April 29th, 1901, and would become the 124th Emperor of Japan on December 25th, 1926.
So World War I, okay.
Yep. So I will be calling him Hirohito because that's what most people know him in the West as. And in case you didn't notice, I'm a very Western guy. Yeehaw.
You're very Western Hemisphere, yes.
Yes. Japan, for the majority of its history prior to 1868, was a bunch of warlords enforcing a feudalistic system that had different variations in size, leadership, and involvement throughout different eras. Through all this, the Emperor of Japan, quote unquote, was essentially just another warlord with a fancy title whose power ebbed and waned like everybody else's. In the 1600s, the shogunate was formed and kicked essentially all Europeans out of the country, with the exception of the Dutch. This was about the same time they killed almost every single Christian in the country. And also,
where do samurais come in?
They're everywhere.
I was gonna say, because aren't they the ones that did that?
They enforced the feudalistic system. At this time, they also enforced if you can't prove you're Dutch, you die policy. Even if you were Dutch and you just didn't have the paperwork, they killed you on the spot. Fast forward about 200 years, Commandant Matthew C. Perry of the U.S. Navy showed up and rocked Japan's shit, along with the Portuguese, British, and French. After essentially a decade of being run by the U.S. and the Brits, the Meiji Restoration happened and created the Japanese empire we all know and love. Under Emperor Meiji, Japan industrialized and shirked the threat of Western colonization, and even tried to get its own colonizer. They would attempt to do this in the Philippines and
are you just gonna blow past that?
What, get their colonizer on?
Just the way you said, I don't know. I got nothing for it. Continue
colonizer on.
I couldn't come up with a joke, so
I got nothing. That was just so fucking something. I don't know. Continue
You're
on.
welcome.
I guess.
Okay.
Just waiting for where the anime and hentai come in.
That's after.
After what?
Everything.
What? Bullshit.
They heavily industrialized and opened up to foreigners. They also had fun starting a war with Imperial Russia in 1904, essentially giving the world a sneak peek to World War I.
Can we fathom? We need to put this into perspective for people, because I don't think people understand. Japan is made up of like what, 5 tiny islands or something like that?
Oh, it's hundreds. It's hundreds,
but it's like the 5 main islands.
It's like
or something?
it's like 5 main islands and then like hundreds of archipelagos.
All right, and then you got all of Russia.
Well, also remember, this is 1904. The Tsarist Russia is on its last leg. Like,
well, yeah,
Marx
because
has been
fucking
born.
around.
The Bolsheviks are already
This
starting
is
to
when they're
pick up
fucking
shit.
around with Rasputin, right?
Yeah. This is when
Russia's in a
Rasputin's
real
getting stabbed
shit.
18 times.
I don't know if you noticed, Rasputin really kind of fucked Russia in a way. Like, Still,
so one of those
unfathomable. It's like Hawaii fighting the U.S. Like
one of those fun podcasts I talked about in the disclaimer in our rebrand little segment, Lions Led by Donkeys, has a fantastic series on the Japanese-Russian war that you should go listen to. It's actually really good.
It's amazing how much you can easily defeat Japan if you just nuke them a couple times.
Well, this was about 40 years prior to that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just letting you know if we ever get back into that situation.
I'm just letting
Pretty
everyone know
easy.
that we're better.
Coming from the guy with the fucking blue light sunglasses on, that came perfectly.
USA. USA.
So, with this little preview of
By
World
the way,
War
Nick,
One
your
out of the
3
way.
minutes is up.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to go into a little bit more detail on the Russian-Japanese war.
Well, your 4 minutes is up then.
So, to sum up, the last 20 years before Hirohito takes the throne as quickly as possible.
Can I just take a wild guess here and say it's a fucking shit show?
In a handful of sentences, it's essentially, let's join the cool kids club by helping in World War One. We'll get to be an empire too. Oh, the Europeans took all their shit back, and after we helped them, fuck you, France. I like this Austrian with a funny mustache's vibe better anyway. That's essentially the vibe for the last 20 years before Hirohito took the reign.
Yeah, that fucking adds up. So a lot
Fuck
of
you,
places,
France is a big theme throughout the episode.
a lot of places are like colonized countries and stuff, but Europe is God. Oh my God! If you get into it, Europe is so fucking heavy on colonizing because at that point they were thinking that the more places you own, the better off you were, but they didn't realize how much it spreads thin your fucking money.
Oh,
my God!
I can't wait to talk about what Japan wanted from the war, because let me tell you, they took lessons from Britain.
Yeah. Honestly, the U.S. would have been a colony. Well, I mean, it was 13 colonies if you think about it, but it would have been if we wouldn't have told the British to go fuck themselves and their taxes. And here we are with taxes.
Otto von Bismarck once said, "The United States is blessed with weak neighbors to the north and south, and fish to the east and west. Otherwise, it would have been conquered like everywhere else."
Yeah.
Otto von Bismarck, the first Chancellor of United Germany, got everyone's shit together, and then Wilhelm fucked everything up.
Honestly, I want to put this
honestly,
out there.
I wouldn't mind talking about Otto von Bismarck at some point. He's really, really interesting, dude.
I think if anyone ever went to war with Canada in my lifetime, I think I would sign up for it. I think I would go defend Canada. I don't know why, but I think I would do it. I'd be like, yeah, no, all right, let's get in the fucking trenches of the snow. Let's fuck them up.
Here, the nice thing about if we're going to war with Canada and we're defending
Canada. With like as an ally.
We're gonna join the Canadian Foreign Legion.
I would join Canada's fight because I already have every single form of weapon that they carry. Hockey sticks and hockey pucks.
I feel like Canada would be like, I feel like
I come running up in full goalie equipment. Hell yeah! I'm gonna be in my full goalie equipment, carrying a hockey stick, a bag of hockey pucks, and a Pupper's beer, and just fucking go to town.
You're gonna get across the border and be like, first thing first, give me a Pupper's beer and fuck that sniper up there. Whack with hockey puck.
So, something that I just want to make clear for everyone. I am not. If I got any of this wrong, I am not a historian nor an expert on Japan.
I would like to put out there that none of us are. Disclaimer: none of us are historians or are anywhere close to it,
or overly funny.
That's fucking.
Yeah,
that's well known in this podcast.
I am an idiot who likes history and has an internet connection. That's my only claim to fame here. All right,
and likes Audible.
I do love Audible. Hey, Audible, sponsor me, please.
I love Audible so much.
Audible's so fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, since I switched, it's
all right. So Hirohito, or Showa, but we'll call him Hirohito. Hirohito was the first son of Emperor Taisho and the grandson of Emperor Meiji. The Meiji Restoration. This was that guy. This guy did that.
I don't know what that is. But
yeah, I was like, you said that like I know it.
So the Meiji Restoration I just talked about, where they
is that what's happening on I-59
cuffs.
right now?
The Meiji Restoration shirked the colonial cuffs. They industrialized. This was that.
Okay.
This dude did that.
Oh, okay.
No, I understand it. Adam
All right.
doesn't, but I got you.
All right.
Anyone with 5 working brain cells will probably
Yes.
put it together.
So
I don't care about history that much.
Meiji Restoration. This is that Meiji. So Japan's weird because they break up all of their eras just by who was emperor at the time. So you have the Meiji era, you have the Taisho era, and then you have the Showa era. It's really weird because none of these are eras because they all last like 20 years.
It's like a dynasty. If they just changed out dynasty for era.
Yeah.
I thought dynasties had to last a long time too.
Dynasties. Well, technically, this is the longest running dynasty of any. Technically, this is a 2,600-year dynasty.
Yeah.
Hirohito had 3 younger brothers. Like most of the world leaders at this time, his childhood was shit. He was taken from his family and raised by an imperial vice admiral until he was 3 years old.
So basically, you learn how to fight.
No.
Shit, perfect. Probably why they went with kamikazes.
Well, I mean,
All right.
well, obviously being raised by not your family is healthy. When he finally returned to his family, he rarely saw his father, and he was only allowed to see his mother once a week. Because that's also healthy. An important thing to understand about Japanese culture is that they viewed the emperor as a literal god.
Their whole thing is honor.
And
Yeah.
the emperor's god. He's like a sun god. This is where another disclaimer. I don't know nearly enough about Shinto or the religious aspects of the crown to go into detail or to even feel comfortable discussing it. And I really don't feel like pissing off an entire religion and country. So we're going to leave it as
We nuked
emperor
him
is a
twice
god.
before. I think we can nuke him probably 600 times more now.
Let's avoid that.
Maybe.
So because I don't feel like pissing off an entire country nor religion, we're just going to leave it as emperor is god and we move on. The reason I bring up this is that imperial infallibility plays a huge role in the war and early development of Hirohito. Remember how Hirohito barely saw his father? Well, he saw his grandfather even less. If I remember correctly, he saw his grandfather once a year on his birthday, and it was for like 5 minutes. Remember
So fucking weird.
The great Emperor Meiji saved Japan from the colonizing West. He dragged the country into the modern world, kicking and screaming at times. And if religion told you that the emperor was a god, Meiji gave you a reason to believe it. So when Hirohito was able to see his grandfather, it was painfully formal. There were no hugs, there were no birthday wishes. The closest Meiji ever came to showing compassion was asking him what he learned in school, which was how to be honorable and like be a soldier and shit. He loved marine biology. He got like a PhD in marine biology. It's wild.
So yet again, a whole thing about Japan's culture, even to this day, and the reason they have a pretty decently high suicide rate is because of honor. Honor is such a very cultural thing there that if you feel like you are failing in any sort of aspect of life, a lot of them go towards suicide because seppuku is still a sign of honor, but seppuku has terms and specific things that go into it. If you watch Hacksaw Ridge, you see an actual good description or depiction of it.
This had a lot to do with honor, and it also had to do with the view that the emperor had to be completely stoic, most of the time to a fault, and if he showed any compassion or visible love, he was making his grandson weak and showing his own weakness. And god damn it, gods are not weak. So really gotta remember, his childhood has a lot to do with how he is. And this episode is going to be titled about Hirohito. However,
quick question. You said they see him as God. Is it big G or little G?
I believe they have multiple gods in Shinto, so it would be little G.
Okay.
Is he like a descendant or an avatar of the sun god? I'm not entirely certain.
Almost like a demigod, I guess, if you would.
No, he's more than a demigod. I just don't know nearly enough about Shinto to even feel comfortable discussing it.
I just didn't know if they were like, there's one god and it's the emperor, which also
it's the sun
counteracts
god, so he's like he's the head honcho of all the other. I honestly just don't know anything about Shinto.
He's Ra,
Yeah,
I was gonna say
Kinda.
usually
Yeah.
the
big
sun
Zeus
god.
boy.
I was gonna say the sun god is usually the
Yeah.
big one.
And we know they don't like monotheistic religions because they killed everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've talked about Hirohito, it's time to talk about everyone's favorite prime minister, Hideki Tojo, who honestly deserves his own podcast, but we're going to shove him into this one. Tojo was one of the strongest proponents of Japanese imperialism throughout his entire career. This went hand in hand with his radical traditionalism after he received his officer commission after the Sino invasion of... Now, Meg, fuck are you eating?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Ferda.
All right. So
Yeah, he's ugly.
Ferda. Nick, you failed to drink during the Ferda.
Fuck.
Take 2 Ferdas.
Oh.
Ferda. You hate to see it.
I poured a double.
Well, good thing we're on 4 now.
I am an asshole.
Oh. All right.
Yeah, shots of bourbon don't work well.
You could have just
So-
ended that sentence with shots. Shots just don't work well.
That's
We're-
true.
We're too old.
After Tojo received his officer commission, he refused to take care of his kids since that's woman's work. He would
No,
also
this checks out.
I'm not going to touch that. He would also slap his soldiers since that's just what a good officer does.
No, that checks out.
To a non-samurai caste soldier.
Okay,
This
so
is where the
you
samurai
say
comes
that
in.
you say that, but also the Japanese had convinced their own pilots to commit suicide. So
Yeah. This era of Japan is what it's just all wild, and it doesn't get any better. All right, so Tojo, just to get into Tojo a little bit, he served in the Russian Civil War as an expeditionary captain or as an expeditionary soldier for Japan, helping the whites in the Russian Civil War. He served in the invasion of Manchuria and a couple other conflicts until he earned his commission, and then he just kind of skyrocketed up. Then he became the Minister of War, which is where we get into this fun thing. So kids, I have a question for you. What's the best way to build your empire if you got into the game about 400 years late?
okay, well, what time period are we talking about?
We're talking about the early 1900s.
Best way
To become an empire if you got in 400 years late.
if you got in late, I was gonna say if you wanted to become an empire, probably production, like steel,
Good idea.
oil.
It's a very interesting Western idea of you, Jeff.
It is, except that's also the Middle
Would you,
East
do you have a guess?
and Europe
I do.
and Russia.
So I would say
Producing
the
Hamilton
best-
doesn't work.
no. Well, that
I
would
mean,
help.
it might.
It would help. I would say
Maybe Hamilton was produced late.
it would be to pay off the world leaders.
It's a good idea. You're all wrong. You steal someone else's. And war crimes. A lot of war crimes.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, war crimes always are the best way to do anything.
Yeah.
Honestly,
But like
there's a
war,
reason they're so
like,
the reason they're war crimes is because they're really fucking effective.
war crimes are like the supplemental to stealing someone else's empire.
I mean, yeah.
So-
I mean, if you think about it, Hitler did try to do that with all of Europe. So
True. In the late 1930s, Tojo was busy blatantly ignoring and probably instructing war crimes in Manchuria, which led to what
he
is
a
now
candidate?
called
yes,
Yes,
the diplomatic.
Yep.
I'm over here cracking jokes.
So this is what became known as the Rape of Nanjing, where between 40,000 and 300,000 Chinese civilians were brutally murdered and raped by the Imperial Japanese Army.
In that order?
Is this where a unit like 741 comes from?
Not yet. It's Unit 713. Not
Is
yet.
it 13?
Yeah, it's Unit 7.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna check this.
I put it in my
Hold
notes. You have 713?
Unit 731.
731.
So we're both right fucking there.
Yeah, Unit 731. I'm gonna change my notes. All right. So we're almost to Unit 731.
Horrible. We're gonna do. Hold on. We're not gonna go super into
No,
that
we're not.
because that is something we will do on Drunken Jurors. That is so specific.
So they also had. I'm actually right there. They also had a fun time collecting subjects for Unit 731, which I won't go into because I would like to smile again within the next week.
So I'm gonna just a quick way to explain Unit 731.
They made Dr. Mengele look like a kid's park.
Yeah. Basically to do it without you having to look it up and scar yourself until we do the episode on Drunken Jurors. Unit 731 made the things they did during the Holocaust to the Jews look like fucking a cakewalk. Yeah. They did some real fucking not okay stuff.
Real bad.
Really quick.
Fun fact. A lot of those guys who ran that thing,
also not to like
731, became professors in Tokyo after the war.
If they weren't tried for their war crimes by the U.S.,
very few were.
Yeah, the U.S. did kill some of them because they captured them, or the UN, or whatever you want to call it.
We'll get into it because not nearly enough people went.
No, there was not enough backlash
on the Japan.
Yeah. Not enough shit happened to them. No.
All right. So
also not to make light of what happened to the Jews during the Holocaust. That was also a huge tragedy. But Unit 731 was also something that's not talked about enough. That was a very bad situation.
Why would Japan get in bed with Nazi Germany? And why would an imperialist like Tojo support it? Well, remember when I said fuck France? Was going to be a major theme of this episode. Well, fuck France.
Can we also talk about how France almost like basically made Europe lose World War II, or are we going to skip over that part?
No, we're getting there.
Cool. So as long as we get there.
So the area that is now Vietnam, Korea, Laos, and Cambodia was at this time French Indochina. And about this time, the Third Republic of France had just gotten bodied by Germany in the 6-week-long Battle of France during the spring of 1940. The Third Republic would become the German puppet of Vichy France, and Germany would secure Japanese support who wanted to secure Japanese support instructed Vichy France to just hand Indochina right over.
So really quick,
let's also talk about.
I got 2 questions that might be stupid.
Yep.
Question 1.
Yep.
Was there a First and Second Republic?
Yes.
Okay, because I always hear about like Third Republic.
Real fucking fast.
About first
you're getting the cliff notes of the cliff notes. So you had the Empire of France that aided the U.S. during the Revolution. Then you had. No, that was the Kingdom of France. Then you had the First Republic, which was the revolutionaries. Then you had Napoleon with the First Empire of France. Then Napoleon got bodied by the coalition of all of Europe. Then you had the Second Republic. Then you had Napoleon come his happy ass right back in and form the Second Empire of France. And then like his kids kind of took over a little bit, and his nephew fucked up. And then after some point, I can't remember exactly when, at some point like right before World War One, I think it might have been around Korea. Not Korea, Crimea. This was around the Crimean War, which was like 1871. That empire fell, and then the Third Republic popped up.
And then my second question spawns off of that, not really related. I'm gonna pronounce the word wrong, but the Third Reich or whatever that
Third Reich is German.
Yes. Yeah. What is the first and second? I know it's German. It was just like I came up with the first and Second Republic.
The first Napoleonic, right?
No, the First Reich was the Prussian Empire. Yeah. And then the Prussian Empire absorbed everything else and became United Germany, and that was the Second Reich. And then you had the Third Reich. And then between
Okay.
that, you had the Weimar Republic.
That just kind of
Yeah.
mushed in with I only hear about the third of things. And
No,
Yeah.
I
what
think
the fuck
I
happened before
honestly
that.
think I'm going to be a professor to you right now, but I think that's actually a really good question because I don't think that's a thing that a lot of people would understand. You just hear Third Reich and you think Adolf Hitler. And
I
World War
will.
II.
I
Exactly.
will.
But no one ever
love-
understands.
So
It's how did we get to the Third Reich? How did the fuck did we get here?
when I eventually do an episode on Otto von Bismarck, we'll discuss the First and Second Reichs.
Anyway, that it has
All right.
nothing to do with the podcast that we're doing.
No, that's
right
fine. Hey, I'm about to hit you with another thing that has nothing to do with the
I
podcast.
mean, it kind of does because of the fact that we are going to be talking about World War II heavily here soon. So,
Yeah. So fun fact, just that has nothing to do with this episode at all. Charles de Gaulle, the leader and eventual hero of Free France, and a future topic for this episode or for the series, actually wrote one of the first theoretical papers on what would be known as Blitzkrieg, possibly inspiring Heinz Guderian, I'm not pronouncing that right, who convinced Hitler to use the strategy.
okay,
So,
so Blitzkrieg
Was
is the idea of continuously sending forces into a spot.
That's how
and
they took all of
just-
France
yeah.
and Belgium in 6
It's
weeks.
continuously sending wave after
Yeah.
wave after wave. After the first wave hits, you bring them back. The next wave is already hitting when that one's coming back, and it's constant.
And
They
like,
don't have time to replenish anything or
This-
think
this was
about anything because
because-
they're constantly being hit.
This was because de Gaulle witnessed static warfare in World War One, which is trench warfare, and
Yeah.
saw that doesn't get you anywhere.
Well,
So
that's also because the U.S. used what would now be considered not even actually, I don't think, but war crimes, but not really because you can do the whole thing about war. The reason there are war crimes is because someone comes up with something that works really well, and someone comes up with a really inhumane way that stops what's happening.
yeah,
Is how war crimes happen.
yeah.
You have
Turns out a
trench war-
great- yeah.
Hey, you create a trench. Congrats. We create trench guns, which is a shotgun that wipes everything in a trench.
I'm a full
War
proponent
crime.
that nothing cannot be solved by slam firing a shotgun.
I would like to point out too, we made jokes that my knowledge of Hamilton wasn't going to come in handy, and then Nick brought up the French Revolution, and that was discussed in Hamilton.
Yep.
Well,
So-
which one? Because hasn't the French had like multiple?
The French have a revolution like every
this
3
is
weeks.
this is the Les Mis Revolution,
Oh, okay.
But in
which
total,
I also know about from Les Mis. So.
so we're getting to the conclusion of the fuck France area of the episode.
I think as long as we all understand that France
We've
really
never
fucked
gotten-
a lot of things, especially World War II.
The French have never listened to this podcast ever, so fuck France still.
If the French
Uh,
could have held their own in World War II, probably could have been ended faster.
Look, I just want to say it's not my fault that the French haven't done shit but suck on snail balls since Waterloo. And honestly, build better submarines. Topical joke that very few people will get. Jeff gets.
Yeah, no. It's just, I don't know, man. The French could have done anything right, and they chose to do nothing right. Like they could have chose one thing, man. One fucking thing, and they chose their own revolutions and then fucked everything else.
They just started it. They just signed a new arms deal with someone else, and I gotta remember who the fuck it was.
Is it Australia? Because I feel like
No,
everyone's
no,
sending
no,
nukes
no,
to
no, no,
Australia.
No. That's why the French make shit submarines, because the U.S. instead sold them submarines, sold Australia submarines. Anyway, after the whole fuck France tirade, Tojo made a name for himself, and he was made prime minister. And because Hirohito wanted a sycophant for the job, Tojo was his guy. With the atrocities coming out of China and Indochina, the U.S. placed an oil embargo on the Japanese and began ramping up the Pacific Fleet. For most of post-war history, it is taught that Hirohito was nothing more than a mouthpiece, and Tojo was the real authority behind Japanese decisions. But the decision of war was made before Tojo was appointed. The original pick for prime minister was Hirohito's uncle, but was removed because Hirohito was worried that if a member of the royal family was prime minister and they lost a war against the West, his family name would be ruined. It should be said that the whole time Tojo was prime minister, he was also minister of war, because why the fuck not?
God, I think that's the main thing about dynasties and or not dynasties. empires that really fucks things is throwing random, like, why can I not think of the word?
Ministers?
No,
Family members?
Family members. There we go. Why can't I not think of that word? I was going to think of a bigger word. Sorry, everyone. I am stupid, but that's the problem with throwing family members into random positions in an empire is they might not be fucking qualified to do so.
He was actually very qualified. At that time, it was considered that he was the only one that the Imperial Army and Navy would actually listen to. And he was actually very competent. It's just that Hirohito was worried that it would look bad if they lost the war for his family.
See, but just because you think that they'll listen to him compared to they should listen to him, I think is what makes the difference. Because take the U.S. Navy. I mean, you throw anyone up there, they're gonna listen to them. They might not agree with it, but it's the fucking U.S. Navy. Like, they're going to have to. Like, that's the point of the position. Yeah. Granted, that could also backfire greatly, but
so we're gonna get into my favorite part of the episode right here. So, in case you thought Tojo had any grasp on reality, here's where I prove you wrong. This is the list of demands for when the Allies would eventually sue for peace because Japan was beating their ass. From Britain, he wanted Honduras, Australia, all of it, New Zealand, Australian New Guinea, Ceylon, I don't even know where the fuck that is. Also, he wanted British Columbia and the Yukon Territory in Canada.
Oh. Yeah. Ooh, that's a big no selling point there.
From the US, he wanted Alaska and Hawaii. Pretty standard, right? Like, just, those are pretty standard asks. He also wanted the state of Washington.
Yeah, no, that's a big no. Like, just as
not Oregon, Washington.
Yeah, but thinking as a defense, you don't want to give anything up on your main territory. Giving up Alaska and Hawaii, I could see giving it up. It's not still a strategic good idea, but I could see giving them up because they're not directly connected to your main state.
I'm assuming Guam is also in there. Like, you probably wanted Guam too in Midway.
Yeah, well, clearly they wanted Midway, as there's a battle of Midway. But
I think those were just kind of assumptions they take by this point in the war, so that like it wasn't just gonna be thrown in.
I mean, if you get Hawaii, you're probably going to get Midway. I mean, Midway is the center point. Like,
but if you didn't think wanting the state of Washington was greedy, he also wanted all of Central America, plus Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, and the rest of the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a big you fucking asked too much right there.
He thought that Japan was going to run
all of
shit
Central
over
America,
all of West. Well, they just assumed they were going to, well, he assumed that Germany was going to body Britain and everywhere else. Germany would then colonize Africa and colonize pretty much all of Europe, I guess, essentially.
Hold on. So he thought this while the British have the best Navy in the world.
Well, this was at the point where the Brits were getting their shit kicked in.
Still, but British still known for having a very good Navy. In past history, they owned the Suez Canal at this point, right?
Yep. There was currently a fight for it. This was like when Rommel was probably fighting for it.
Okay, but still, British technically have.
Yeah, like they had Egypt. They never lost Egypt. They never lost the
Suez. They technically have the Suez Canal, and then you want Central America.
Yep.
As if that's gonna fucking fly.
All of the Caribbean, all of it.
You think Germany's gonna take all of Africa somehow?
Well, at this point, it's all colonized by Portugal, Spain.
Yes, but you also have to realize America is in there at this point.
Well, he was assuming that they were going to body the. How else was he going to get Washington? First off, we got to remember this man's fucking delusional.
Yeah,
this dude's delusional. He wanted all of the Yukon territory. It's fucking insane.
I don't know. It's a wild fucking thought.
I want to know what he was on, so that way I can purge it from existence because it terrifies me. Because this man was on something that should not exist.
I mean, you got to put into aspect maybe the British were eating body, and we talk so much shit as the U.S. talking about Britain, but Britain's not a fucking pushover, especially when it comes to war.
I mean, this was right after Dunkirk, so they just got chased out of Europe and back to the island.
But still, it's fucking. You don't think Britain could have put up one hell of a fight on their own fucking island?
Well, they were like pretty close to taking India at this point. There were massive offenses in
Yeah, but when you
Bhutan to take
force,
India.
but when you force someone all the way back to their own fucking country, I don't know. I don't see someone being able to push.
No,
like,
this is completely delusional. He's completely insane for even thinking that any of these are options.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think Britain would have. I think even Britain on the
No,
island would have
but
put up
also,
one hell of a fucking
The
fight.
reason I point this out, like these demands, this guy's essentially in charge of the Japanese imperial military.
Yeah.
So he's insane, and he's got a direct line to the emperor. Which we'll discuss more of that. So I didn't throw this in there because I just read it, but it's wild. When when he went to jail for war crimes while he was standing trial, he got a new set of dentures. On the dentures, in Morse code, was "Remember Pearl Harbor."
Yeah. It's
wild.
So
that's insane.
If I don't know how to put this into words, and I know this probably doesn't really tie into anything like what you're trying to talk about, but I don't think people realize how stupid Japan bombing Pearl Harbor was. The reason they did it.
Someone said, "I feel like we've just woken a sleeping beast." I can't. It was some high up minister or something.
Yeah, U.S. it's after World War One. The Treaty of Versailles, in fact. U.S. isn't a part of the fucking treaty. Like we are producing so much. We had such a fucking boom in production from World War One that like we just started producing boats, planes, fucking everything.
This is happening in the middle of the Great Depression, so everyone's just kind of assuming that U.S. is a lame duck at the moment.
Yeah, but that's not the aspect of when we're in war. Because when we're in war, we are booming like a motherfucker.
I mean, and that happened once. It happened one time. There's no guarantee that it happened again, and they banked off of that.
Yeah, but the reason they bombed Pearl Harbor was to stop us from joining Great Britain and defending Southeast Asia, because they thought we would join Britain in defending their territories in Southeast Asia, aka Australia and New Guinea and all that.
I mean, there was a huge Marine presence in Australia throughout the war, just in case there was an invasion.
But they bomb it, and it's such a dumb idea because it is like they thought that was going to be our Navy presence that was going to do something in the war, and that
it would have been. I'm pretty sure like a large amount.
It would have stopped it faster.
No, I'm pretty sure like they waited a couple days, and if they hit a couple days before, like a huge portion of the fleet was supposed to be in Pearl Harbor. If it was, maybe it was a couple days after, they missed it by like a window of a few days where they would have essentially sunk the entire fleet.
Yeah, but yet again, they have to get from Japan to Midway, which isn't something they really control at the point, and then get to us. So they have to fly all the way from Japan to Pearl Harbor to fuck us up. And it was just, I don't know. I don't think it was something that carriers. Yeah, but it was never something that was going to really work. Like
no, but the thing I've learned is that there's just a lot of hit and misses. Like if they get lucky. If they wait a couple days, the entirety of the Pacific fleet's in Pearl Harbor except for a handful of ships. Yeah. And if they take that out, the US has great production, but they aren't going to be able to crank out 6 aircraft carriers in a year, let alone in a couple months.
Yeah, but with how the US is and how they should have known, the U.S. would have been able to defend the West Coast long enough to be able to.
Oh, a land invasion was never on the table, and they knew.
No, but still, like, it's not like we wouldn't have bounced back and done something anyways. Like, so what? You take out Pearl Harbor, yes, it's a huge loss. And Pearl Harbor to this day in the U.S. is such a historic day. It is such a loss of a great amount of people and great.
There's no way in actual reality that a man in the high castle situation develops in the U.S. No.
Yeah.
All right. Would
you like to describe what that is to other people?
Man in the High Castle is a fictional alternate reality that's essentially Germany develops nukes, they drop it on DC and Washington. They're actually able to develop rocket and jet engine technology. They completely shut down the D-Day invasion, sets everything back, and then like they're able to conquer all. Essentially, it's these master ideas that I just read to you, like these claims, they happen.
Yeah, which is wildly not effective or possible. It's just it would have. From what we know of Germany, is they were trying so much shit in such a fast period that they couldn't have produced enough.
The STG-44 was the world's first assault rifle, like automatic assault rifle. Not assault rifle, automatic rifle. Assault rifle's not a thing.
It's kind of
it was an
not a
automatic. It was
sub.
an automatic
It's
rifle.
assault. Yeah.
Assault rifle isn't an actual term.
Yeah.
If anyone ever calls something an assault rifle, they're an idiot. But the STG-44 was denied by Hitler because he thought it looked ugly. And then his
I actually learned about that recently.
His generals were like, fucking ignore him. Fucking make this thing because it's so good.
Yeah.
And where it was deployed, they ran roughshod on the Red Army because it was only deployed in the East. But where it was deployed, it was a total game changer.
Yeah. No, it fucked up Russia super hard.
Not unfortunately. Fortunately, it was only deployed in a couple areas. And there was very limited production.
I don't think they could have made enough of them.
They only made a couple thousand.
Because other than that, it was the Gewehr, right? Was their main rifle?
No, it was the MP-44, which is 9mm.
Yeah.
It was the Gewehr and the MP-44. Which is only 9mm, and that was essentially just given to tank crews and officers. All right. Back on topic. We're shoving it on there.
I'm probably gonna cut a lot of that. Probably not though, because that's actually still pretty.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It adds up. We're giving you a lot of World War II facts here, boys.
Fun stuff.
And gals.
Yes.
And Adam.
Yeah, and Adam, who's asleep, maybe?
Sorry,
He might be asleep.
sorry. Iron Man, Tony Stark, whoever you want to be.
So
Iron Patriot.
There we are. He approves.
Now that we know Tojo is insane, I'm going to sum up World War II for Japan faster than it's ever been done before.
Nick, was all of that we just did supposed to be those 3 minutes?
No.
God,
thank God. Thank God.
I hope not, because what is that? That is
that's been over an hour.
Yeah.
It's been
not
41 minutes since I started recording from the second time we started
But
recording.
now I'm going to describe I'm going to do a lightning round of what World War II was in Japan. Sunk some boats, crimes against humanity, angry crayon eaters, sun times 2. And now we all know World War II. Now that we got that out of the way, the important question. Who knew what and when and who gave the orders? Because World War II is over now. We're done. Like, that's it. I finished World War II in seconds. It's pretty clear that Tojo issued most of the orders to the military. But Hirohito 100% knew what those orders were, assuming he wasn't the one issuing them. Because there was almost no military orders that came from Hirohito directly, and most of the correspondence between Tojo and Hirohito was destroyed, Hirohito and imperial loyalists in the court and government essentially teed Tojo up as the perfect scapegoat. And man, was he happy to climb up onto that tee. Almost immediately after Japan's surrender, the U.S. Army set up a military government headed by Douglas MacArthur. MacArthur understood that if the U.S. was to rebuild Japan separate from the USSR's influence, and more importantly, friendly to U.S. interests, Hirohito would be needed. But for that to happen, Hirohito had to survive the War Crimes Tribunal. While the tribunal consisted of the UK, USSR, and China, and the US 100% drove the boat on this. They ran the show. They decided who testified. They picked judges. They ran it. When the USSR demanded Hirohito testify before the tribunal, MacArthur made sure that would never happen. Instead, they made Tojo the centerpiece of the trial, with testimony from generals and other officers that orders always came from the prime minister's office. And then at some point he was no longer prime minister and he was just in charge of the military. As expected, from an imperial fanatic, Tojo took full responsibility for the war and all atrocities committed. After Tojo's execution, MacArthur made the revision of Hirohito's image a pet project of his. He instructed him to go on tours throughout the country in an effort to seem more human. If the new democratic government was endorsed by an emperor that was adored by the public, it would be able to unite both the populace and the upper echelons of society, the samurai caste, if you will. This is why Hirohito was able to maintain the title of emperor for himself and his family while he was still on the throne, He had no official power, but he maintained heavy influence on Japanese society and the government. After his death, the throne became nothing more than a symbol of a former imperial glory. To Hirohito's credit, he was able to maintain and preserve the last empire in the world. After 1971, he was the last monarch with the title of emperor. He also died in like the 80s. So he became one of the longest reigning monarchs in history.
You're welcome. From America.
Kind of.
We didn't nuke you again.
Almost.
Don't fucking test us. I'll call the missiles myself.
Something to understand whenever talking about Hirohito is you can't say his name without Tojo. Whenever you feel that, whether you feel that Tojo was nothing more than a mouthpiece to Hirohito, or if he was a partner, one thing is for certain: Tojo believed in Japanese excellence and the divinity of the throne. There's a chance that he had acted separately from Hirohito in his best interest, which is what everyone claimed. I don't buy that. I think both of them wanted a war and wanted to expand Japan, and Tojo was more than willing to climb into a noose for both of them.
Yeah, I mean, just from what they wanted out of that deal was a little far-fetched. It just shows signs of we want to expand in any way, shape, or form that we fucking can. Whatever means it takes, we'll do it. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think maybe he's not as horrible as you would think, but I mean, like, when it comes to, we talk about these people because it happens during war, and war really fucks with people in certain ways, especially like, because I don't think he's totally in charge of the war. He's the head, but it's the same way America is. Like, the president is the head, but I mean, when it comes to war, the fucking attorney general takes over. Like,
what?
Not attorney general.
Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, that's it.
Actually, so one thing that separates that you got to remember separates the U.S. from like all of these monarchs at the time, pretty much even to this day, a lot, is civilian control of the military. You won't have, like, a general doesn't have ultimate power during wartime. A general won't, an admiral won't. They don't have ultimate power. They have, the president is the commander in chief of the United States Armed Forces, and that civilian control prevents kind of shit like this from happening. And also like what happened in World War I with Germany, where it was essentially a military, like the military just controlled the country. Yeah. It prevents that. It also prevents, like, with Napoleon. Napoleon was a military officer. He was an artillery officer, and he became emperor. And it was the military was in charge of society. In the U.S., you don't have that because we have civilian control. That is imprinted in the very bones of the Constitution, is civilian control of the military.
All right, Jeff was wrong. I'll eat that one. Fucking take that one to the chest.
Eat it right now.
I'm not.
Nom, 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 nom. Hell yeah. That's a clip right there.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, everyone, Emperor Hirohito. Judge him how you will.
Feel like we talk about him a lot. Yeah, I was gonna say. I feel like we talked about other people a lot more.
I mean, that's.
You also got a weird roundabout of how World War II went down.
I finished it in a sentence, right? It's wild. So,
AKA the French almost fucked it for everyone.
I mean, don't they all? Don't they always? So one thing, it's really hard to get a lot of detail. I also never cited my book.
You don't need to. This was all original thought.
No, it was not.
Nick came up with this on the fly.
God, no.
I'll also cut it and put it somewhere near the beginning, I guess.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll talk about it.
He'll let the music play it out.
Maybe I'll put it in the description so I don't have to.
All right. So the book I read for this was Hirohito and the Making of Modern Japan by Herbert P. Hicks. It's a relatively new book, 2018. This is because only recently have a lot of Hirohito's personal journals been released and begun being translated. the Japanese government and the imperial house, which is still a thing, like the emperor still has his shit, completely locked everything down. If they didn't just outright destroy it. So a lot of this shit's really hard to find. A lot of this is from essentially hearsay and the tribunal, and fucking we know how reliable those are. So
Ain't it great?
Yeah, it's and then a lot of it is propaganda, because the US wanted to prop up the emperor, wanted to prop up him being kind of innocent of everything, so that way the USSR wouldn't have a stake in the race. Essentially, that like with the clean Weimar theory in Germany, like with Rommel, like Rommel was the good German who never committed any crimes and protected the Jews. That's not true. But it was propaganda that made it easier for the public in the West and in the US to be like, yeah, we can rearm West Germany to make sure that they're not gonna, so that way there's a line between the rest of Europe and the USSR. A lot of post World War II is just a pissing match. So I mean, that's
a lot of shit talking and
blowing
up stuff. Not like blowing up actually, but like blowing up.
Some blowing up.
Well, yeah,
I mean, there were.
We blew up.
I mean, we blew up Nevada a lot.
That's true. And New Mexico.
Yeah.
And Japan.
Yeah.
No,
twice.
That was World War II. That wasn't the Cold War.
That's true.
We blew up Nevada, New Mexico, and part of Utah, technically, if you think about it, a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, again, Hirohito, you don't talk a lot of. It's wild. This is one of the few topics that I'll ever get into that where the topic isn't talked about that much, just because there's just not a lot.
I don't know. It was interesting. I enjoyed it. I mean, talking about World War II was always fun.
Yep. And then like
so much to it.
After this,
but
I
fuck
know
the France.
Fuck France. Really, we'll talk about the Gaul.
No, fuck the France.
We'll talk about the Gaul and how
Big Gaul, fuck the French.
Was
France.
Apparently a massive racist. Granted, most of France was racist, so I think most of France is still racist. So.
I would highly suggest that they probably are.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of France is still incredibly racist. So yeah, that's it is what it is. I don't judge people who lived 80 years ago by today's morals, but at the same time, real shitty.
Right.
Yeah.
You done?
I'm done. I'm signed, sealed, and delivered, baby.
Perfect.
Lick my ass.
All right. So everyone, our link tree in the description. You go on there. The first link on the link tree is to our Podbean. And if you go to Podbean, and in the upper right-hand corner is become a patron. You become a patron at the $1 tier. You get our Taskmaster special from last year, and maybe not maybe you'll get our one from this year also afterwards. But you can also watch the live stream of that, which would be dope because it's going to be even better than last year's. But if you watch this past year's, you get to see Andy, Dirk, me, Nick, Colton all be blackout drunk doing things that none of us ever would have thought was possible.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never drank a drop of alcohol in my life.
Yeah, the host was drunk. So and will be again.
Probably.
But yeah.
We'll talk about it.
$3 tier.
What are you, Mormon now?
Konnichiwa.
What the fuck? $3 tier, you get the unedited episodes of everything we release on Mondays. So, we release Mondays, our normal podcast to Spotify and Apple and anywhere you can find podcasts. But if you do the Podbean, $3 tier gives you the unedited version video podcast of this. I don't like what Adam's doing either, but here it is. You can also see what Adam was doing to make me say that, but and then we have more tiers after that, which we will start releasing content once we get more patrons, and by more I mean we get patrons. But after all that, I mean, you can also find all our social media on there. You just click the links to those, and from there, I mean, Nick, what else you got to say?
I feel like a cat trying to lick my chin, like the.
Sir?
Well, that might just be because you have brain damage, my guy. You might just be an idiot. Like, I can't wait for my brain damage to set in as far as Adam says. where Nick's doing this podcast with two technically vegetable state human beings that are just in
Can
hospitals.
I get the brain cells back before you guys go into comatose?
No, they disappear with us. That is the point of brain damage. Is we take the brain cells we have, and they die with us.
Damn it! Could use those.
You're gonna have to find new 2 co-hosts, but you also have to, in the unedited ones, keep Adam and I's like video feed of us in the hospital beds, just sucking off oxygen, or our doctors, depending on how not okay they are with HIPAA.
We get the doctors to be the co-hosts.
Yeah, there we go.
The doctors are puppeteering us.
All right.
Hopefully, I really hope the doctors are more professional than we are. Goddamn, because we have zero standards.
No.